Good evening, everybody. This is Robin with another edition of Horror Pop After Midnight, and my guest tonight is Jason Sheedy and Erin Ownbey. How's it going, Erin?
Good. How are you?
Guys, thank you for coming on tonight to talk about your supernatural, paranormal, horror thriller short, The Reclaimers.
Of course.
Heck yeah. Thank you, Robin. It's good to be back.
Yeah, welcome back to the show, because the last movie we talked about was about a killer mime, which was genius.
Also invisible weapons. I seem to have this invisible kick, and I promise it's not because I have no money.
I actually didn't put those two together until right now, so.
I didn't either. So not to jump right in, but let's jump right in. I wrote Reclaimers before I wrote Mages with Brett Brooks, who was the co-writing actor of that. And so that was already set, and we opted to shoot Mages first because I wasn't quite ready to do Reclaimers. And then naturally Mages also had these invisible things. It was just kind of coincidence that they were back to back. But yeah, everyone was just like, so do you just like not have any budget for all these things? So you just find ways to write invisible monsters and weapons? I'm like, that's a fair point. You're not wrong.
Oh, it's kind of brilliant.
I really enjoyed the film.
Hey,
So, Erin...
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, so Erin, how'd you become part of the Reclaimers? Were you the ideal person for this role?
Maybe. I don't know. I guess Jason could answer that.
Yes, she was. I think
I've worked together for a long time, so I was very honored when he asked me to do this part. He asked me to read it over, and I was like, yeah, I would love to do this. It's a dream part, so, yeah.
Hey, good answer, good answer. So, Jason, how'd you come up with the Reclaimers? What was going through your mind when you were making this supernatural, demonic, paranormal type of horror?
Sure. Well, to start off, I definitely had Erin in mind. I think I actually just told her this when we were eating tacos the other day, was that I wrote it with her in mind, and not just because we sort of like knew each other, but I think you also, like, as an indie filmmaker, when you have like resources, and not to like equate like human beings to resources, because that sounds weird, but like I know Erin to be this very talented actress who has a ton of range, who isn't afraid to go there, who can like literally turn it on. And not to jump ahead of myself, but like my wife and I, who was Megan, who was the production designer of the movie, we're so thankful that Erin was so cool with doing these heavy dramatic scenes while we're like in the background, like being like, Booney, Booney, like just like yelling at our dog and, praising her and stuff. And it was just so distracting, I'm sure. So Erin is a superstar, and I will continue to ask her to work in everything I do. As far as the idea for the film, it was written, like I said, about a year ago. I got the idea for the film after I was just taking my dog Boone, who is the dog in the film, for a walk one morning, and it was sort of right after a storm. And basically what had happened was we had come around a corner and she stopped, like frozen in place, and it was very deliberate. It wasn't like I might just be misinterpreting the situation. Like, she was clearly locked onto something that wasn't there. Who knows? It could have been a stray leaf that I just wasn't paying attention to. But she stared there. Her hair was on end. She even growled at it, whatever this invisible thing was. And I remember being kind of like spooked, but also very sort of enthralled and excited about it. And I held on to that idea for a long time, and just knowing like it'd be really neat to do a story, not only to sort of preserve, the memory of my dog and use my dog in the film, but also I just love animals, and I love horror, and, finding a way to combine the two where it would just be a neat sort of story element to have it that the dog could only see the creatures, and then trying to build off from there. Like, what would that be like if you had this, human canine bond where one had the advantage, in terms of seeing the enemies, but, needed the other one to survive as well. So it became this story of companionship about how they're sort of surviving together in this post-apocalyptic landscape, and what that means on a day-to-day basis.
So, Jason,
that was a long answer. I'm sorry.
Hey, that was good. Hey, that was a good question to answer. Now let's talk about your dog Boone. Was your dog Boone was your dog pretty easy to train in the film? Like certain scenes, because there was a certain scene where Boone had to, get a little bit physical and fighting these invisible creatures.
Yeah, she wasn't. I mean, Boone's a very well-trained dog, as is. I'm not trying to take credit for being an excellent dog trainer. I think we just got lucky with having a very great dog that has a very, her face just has a lot of personality to it. So when she's, most of the stuff, I won't spoil all the sort of magic tricks we did. I'm sure most of them are fairly obvious, but, just holding a treat off camera sometimes was all we needed to do. And she just had that natural look in her face. And to Erin's credit, Erin has a dog and is very good with animals. And I do think animals pick up on that. And, Boone was very comfortable with Erin. And between takes, Erin would be loving on Boone and making sure, because we didn't want to have any point in this. And it's very important to me to say this, where we were going to stress our dog out or put her in harm's way. None of this was going to be worth, at all risking her health or safety, as we wouldn't do with Erin either. So the two of them were a great team because, I don't know, there was just a great chemistry already. And I do credit that a lot to, Erin's personality. Erin's very sweet and loving and sincere, but also has an animal and has already established that connection. So to me, a lot of the work was already done. Just bringing Erin on and having a great dog was, I barely did anything. She brought so much of it herself. So
Megan did a lot of work too, being the animal wrangler.
Good save. Got to credit my wife. Yeah, she definitely.
She really did.
Megan was essential because she was, off screen with treats or anything, so that I could be on the director monitor watching everything. So she was essentially Boonie's stage manager for the entire shoot, and I couldn't have done it without her.
So, Erin, how'd you prepare for your role to be doing this? You're with Booney, and you're fighting these demonic invisible forces, and your character had, different moods from protective mode to, what I need to do. How were you able to, turn it on and off when you were doing certain scenes, especially the fight scenes and then just the regular scenes?
Well, something that Jason decided to do in the shoot that I thought was really helpful was we kind of started from the beginning of the movie and worked to the end, which was the time you don't really get to do that. And so it really helped with just building the tension in each scene, really going through from the beginning, when we get to this certain location, I won't disclose where we get to, but, and then moving through the whole movie. So it was, and I've told Jason this, but it was probably if not one of the most physically demanding things I've ever done. Just, I don't know. It was really physically demanding, emotionally demanding. So just building through the scenes as it naturally would have happened for the character was really helpful for that. And then just the prep work before, Jason and I met quite a few times talking about the role. I met with my acting coach, just developing the character, the story. And then all the rest is just fun. We get to kind of play and run around and fight crazy invisible monsters.
Yeah, you did use a lot of physical demanding on your body for certain scenes. You got tossed around and dragged a lot through the certain rooms in the house.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It was hard. I got really dirty. We were shooting in a really old house, and it was, I don't know, it was fun. I love physical work. I love working through the body. So to me, it was just too fun to work that way.
And also, you can tell you were having fun in the film where you had those dog food bombs, which stopped the invisible creatures. It kind of reminded me of apocalyptic MacGyver type of weaponry.
Yeah, I love MacGyver. Also, Jason did a lot of research on building a bomb. So I was like, oh, ping pong balls. I never would have thought that would be flammable, but it was. And the character, she's a scientist, has her science degree. So it really, everything was so thought out. And I think it starts with a good script, a good director. And I was just able to take that and play. So.
Yeah. Where was this, old house you filmed at, it kind of was like it reminded me of like a mansion a little bit. Where'd you find this house to film this? It was like the perfect character and mood and setting in the film.
It was straight up an abandoned home that, miraculously was still safe to be in, as far as we know. But I contacted, basically a film liaison in Darien, Georgia, who I'd gotten info from the Savannah Film Commission. I went to school down in Savannah, Georgia, so I kind of knew there would be some stuff in the area. My wife, who was the production designer, wanted to do something that was kind of like marshland, which I thought was really cool because you don't see a lot of horror films, at least not to my immediate knowledge, that sort of take place in that sort of idyllic, palm trees and bright colors and, during the days. We thought it might be just an interesting kind of contrast to have sort of that environment around. So that's specifically what we're looking for, that sort of surroundings, and then trying to see what kind of house we could find. And we actually rewrote the script a bit around that house. There's a scene, for example, in a basement in the film that was never planned to be in a basement. We just had one and it looked spooky. So we were like, let's film in the basement. I think that was just a lot of, to be honest, some luck and some just, creative thinking that comes with just, oh, cool, we have this at our disposal now. How can we really make this setting work for our script and our characters?
Yeah, the basement scene where Erin and Boone was in, that gave me a little creepy vibe. That kept me on the edge of my seat. I was like, oh no, what's going on? Because, I'd be freaking out down in that basement too, because you're fighting something you can't see. You don't know what's going to happen to you. And I was feeling what Erin's character was feeling. I was seeing right through her eyes and feeling every emotion, what she was going through, which I thought was pretty great, and it kept me on the edge of my seat. And then, towards the end of the film, where Erin's character was hearing her grandmother on the phone, that was like a very powerful and emotional type of scene too.
No, I felt that in the room. I was telling Erin that today. That was like, we were all in the room and we just had the camera on. And it was funny because that's another example of in my head, I imagined there was going to be a lot more coverage, but Erin just completely knocked that out of the park. So I'm like, no, we don't need to do anything but just stay on her for this shot and just let it be what it is. And she carries that shot so well. So, no, thank you. That's all awesome. And I think that was the goal. And, Erin can certainly speak to it more, but I think what both of us were trying to do is, we want to make films that are entertaining and that are kind of like, fun to experience, but we try to incorporate something that is moving or, give the character, something where you can come out of it and there's a more fulfilling feeling coming out of sort of seeing this character go through this journey.
So, go ahead, Erin.
I lost you in there. What scene was that? We started with the basement one, but then which one were you referring to?
And then also, towards the end where your character grabbed the phone and was listening to the final moments of the character's grandmother, the way how you were holding the phone and the way how your facial expression and emotion, it really brought the emotion out where it made it very powerful. You're like, hearing your grandparents' voice for the very last time and going through all those emotions, trying to fight your way back to get back to your family, and then you hear the final talk to your grandparents, and your character and how you performed it was like very emotional, a little bit powerful. So that was pretty good too. Erin, also,
I think we might have lost her.
Yeah, we lost her, but I'm still talking to you. But that part where she was on the cell phone, how she pulled it off, that was like a very powerful, emotional thing. I think that would happen to anybody if they're trying to, get back to their family and knowing, if they're going to see them because of the whole apocalypse that's going on. That scene was it was like very emotional and powerful, and I loved, how Erin, pulled it off.
No, that's awesome. Thank you. No, that's great to hear. And I think, again, she was able to sort of give stuff to the role that I could never have, dreamed up. It's just adding that extra depth and subtext that really plays up the emotional qualities of the film.
Yeah. Sorry, audience. We're getting Erin back on. We lost her and stuff. Let me get her back on. She's coming back on. Let's see what she has to say. All right, she's slowly coming back on, but we'll be talking a little bit more too. Has Erin did like other horror films before? Is this like her first type of horror film?
Am I back in?
No, you are back in just in time to answer this question.
It's raining here, so also some power issues. Sorry, guys.
You're okay.
Horror films. I've done quite a few with Jason, actually. Super fun. And a few other horror films. So I'm a big fan.
Oh, you're a big horror fan. So what was that one film that drew you in that really got you into horror? You'd be like, hey, I'm hooked.
Rosemary's Baby.
Ooh, classic. Satan's Baby Spawn. One of those films. I mean, that film freaked me out. I can see that really happening.
Totally. And I love old school horror. I love the classics. I love Hitchcock. Rear Window. It's not horror, but it's thriller. I love Psycho. So I grew up on watching a lot of older movies with my mom. So that was kind of my gateway drug into horror. I mean, I'm a little bit of a baby. These new horror films are like, they scare me, but I try with the new ones from time to time.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm like you. I'm an old school horror fan too, and I also love the horror films back from the 80s too. That was a good time to watch some horror films.
Yes. I have another horror film that's doing the festival circuit, and it's kind of an ode to old school horror, but also a spoof. It's called the Third Saturday in October. There's part 1 and 5. So if you guys want to check it out, I have a horror film that's kind of doing the circuit right now as well, if you're a horror fan.
I definitely got to check that out and find out who the writer is so I can check this film out, man. You got me intrigued. It sounds good.
It's fun. It's funny.
Yeah, and also in the film and the Reclaimers, let's talk about the score. I loved how you made the score like real creepy and like eerie-like in certain scenes. And the film score in the film, I love it how it was moody in certain situations of each scene, which I like. It felt like it was one of the characters, being part of that film.
Yeah, absolutely, and all credit for that too. I met some folks on the interweb. We had one of our previous shorts was on the platform Dust, which is a great sci-fi platform. They have a sort of a sister channel called Alter that does horror.
Yep.
But they've been really good to us, and as far as like giving us a platform to put our films on and get way more views than I would ever get on my own. But they, Tessa, who was one of the composers, reached out to me through email and basically said, "Hey, I'm here. I have these. My partner and I do music, and if you ever have a need for us, we have like these old school synths and this and that." So the composers are Tessa Rose Jackson and Darius Timmer, and they were I believe they're Amsterdam based now. But yeah, we connected online and did it all. I mean, over Zoom, just like we're doing now. And I gave them the film. I gave them some sort of like jumping off points, but they're just incredibly creative. And like I remember, I told them this too, and it was so great because I was listening to their score. It was a Sunday morning, I remember, and it was the first pass, and I was nervous, not because I didn't think they could do it, but just because it's just you're always the first time you're going to hear it, like it could lean the film this way or that way, and it was just perfect. Like it completely aligned with exactly like what I'd sort of had in my head while sort of their spin on it, and that's ultimately why I wanted to go with them too. Is I thought they had sort of a unique kind of sound, and the stuff I'd heard them score was just had like it just felt like its own thing. And I knew that they would come up with some creative ways. Like I know there was parts of this score where they were literally like banging on pipes and pitching those down. And, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like a string that they play on. It's like a little like bow you can play on like an acoustic guitar to get like a sort of warbly, creepy effect. But anyway, all that to say, they did a great job, and I was really happy. And yeah, I can't wait to work with them on something again.
I'm a fan of cinematography. You had some good cinematography shots. One of my favorite shots was where you did the long pan shot where you see Erin's character getting dragged across the room by the invisible force. I mean, I love the shot, and how she really made it like look like $1,000,000. I kind of like it. It was kind of like like a practical effect, which I liked, and I also loved how you used the natural lighting and a little bit of the camera when you were shooting that scene where she was getting dragged across the room. I like the natural lighting and the certain colors and certain scenes of the film.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, Matthew Noonan is the DP of this one, and he shot Mages of Rage, the last thing we talked about. He shot like the last handful of shorts I did, but it was great for this because we had the house was huge, so we had a lot of room to move around, and it got pretty good lighting. So we made some adjustments here and there, but for the most part, we had scouted early on, and it just sort of was like it all connected very nicely where we were able to sort of shoot in continuity, or shoot consecutively rather. And the way the light hit the house in the morning, was great for those scenes that we shot first. And then as it went, throughout the day and moved throughout the house, we had sort of scheduled those scenes. So there's definitely a little bit of moving this here and there. But for the most part, we got pretty lucky. And, the luck came from planning and going there ahead of time and, nights and nights of shot list schedules and timing things out. But all that to say, Noonan's awesome. And he did a really great job of, he's always good about taking direction, but also bringing ideas to the table and taking what I have and just making it better. So,
could you ever think about this film being a feature film? Could you ever think about, making it from a short to a feature film? I would like to see this as a feature film.
I think, Erin, do you think you could get dragged around for like an hour and a half instead of 20 minutes?
I'm there. Just say when.
Yeah, I think...
Or Pilates.
That's right.
Pilates, yeah, there you go, Erin. Get those Pilates, get jacked up like Sarah Connor, get those, training those weapons and start kicking ass.
Right. What do you think?
I think absolutely we would potentially do a feature. I think I did start writing one. I go back and forth nowadays too with ideas where I struggle with do I want to contain this in a film? Is this something I want to explore as a series? Especially just because series stuff is so. Today it's you can sort of lock into something that might be a season or two. It's better not just for job security, but also just the chance to tell a longer story where you have a little bit more freedom. You're not so constrained by a page count or a time that it needs to be. So yeah, I think the short answer is yes, we definitely are interested in expanding on the story and kind of just playing with ideas right now.
I think so too. And this is a question for both of you. When you guys are not, filmmaking or acting, what do you guys enjoy doing? Do you guys have that little nerdy passion you like to do besides, working in the world of, film?
Who should go?
Erin, why don't you take this one?
Okay. Well, because I just brought it up, I'm a Pilates instructor. So that's kind of my other thing, my other passion. I really love it. So that's been a fun thing, especially with the dual strikes this year. I've been able to start teaching Pilates. So I love that. I love hiking with my dog, reading. So eating tacos with Jason and Megan.
Oh, so when you eat tacos, is it Taco Tuesday? Or it's not a normal day, it's just Taco Tuesday, right?
Oh,
it's tacos every day, man.
I think Jason's a tacos every day kind of guy.
I can just see Jason, since he's a tacos every day kind of guy, I can see him getting one of those roach coaches and going out and doing his own homemade tacos and having tacos everywhere.
That's a good idea.
That could be a new dream to add to the list. But no, I think, to answer the question too is, obviously film is, I pretty much feel like I work as an editor primarily, so if I have free time, I devote it to trying to do film projects, music projects, whatever else, and try to take a break every now and then and do said taco nights. But yeah, I think we're always just looking for opportunities to put stuff together, and I find such joy in collaborating with people like Erin, where it's fun. Like at the end of the day, it's always interesting to me how such a dark, kind of brooding film can just be like, yeah, we had a great time. and that's to me like the most important thing is just going out and doing it, because you enjoy it. And the hope is always that it will, have legs and it will go on to bigger and better things and maybe give you opportunities to do so. But in the meantime, certainly just very, very happy and satisfied making films with my friends. So,
will we ever see Boone in any more horror films of yours?
Maybe she's got the capacity for it for sure. It's funny. I don't know if the mic picked it up, but she was just barking. I think she's mad that she didn't get an interview. I'd love to use her. I love my dog and I love incorporated. I'm with her 24/7 since I primarily work from home. So we are pretty much tied together. But yeah, if there's an opportunity to put her in something, I probably will. And she's sort of like I know like Sam Raimi had his car. That's sort of maybe that'll be my director trademark is I'll always just have my dog in something. Since
your guys' film's been starting out in the film festival circuits, have you ever thought about your main star Boone going on the red carpet with you?
Oh my God.
It would be fun to do. I'm sure if there was something like locally, we'd bring her with for an after the Q&A, like she's out in the parking lot if you want to say hey. But I'm sure most theaters would be like, wait, what?
They'll be like interviewing on a red carpet and there's this dog. You're like, okay, I'm trying to get a good interview. Okay, the dog. Okay, why is the dog like staring at me weird? Does the dog want me to talk to it?
She responds well to treats and toys. So squeaky toys she likes.
Nice. So where can everybody find you on social media to see what you guys are going to be doing next?
Jason.
Yeah. That's always the Zoom etiquette. I'm like, do you want this one? I will happily rail off everyone's social media handles. And correct me if I'm wrong, Erin, but Erin is at Erin Ownbey on Instagram. And I am at Jason M. Sheedy on Instagram. Noonan, our DP, is at Noonan Film. Our producer, Kyle, can't forget to mention him because without him, films like this just don't get made because he holds it all together. Keeps me sane. He's at produce_this at Instagram. He's such a baller. I also want to throw out to our composers as well, Tessa Rose Jackson and Darius Timmer. They're also on Instagram. I think everyone is on Instagram. Do you have any other sites that you wanted to throw out there, Erin?
Not really.
She's like this. Hey, I'm an actress. I love horror. I train Pilates. I'm not afraid to get physical and demanding. So, that's what everybody needs to know. Enough said.
I'm ready to hang. Eat some tacos, have fun, make a horror movie. That's me.
All right.
That's a good weekend.
That is a good weekend. Guys, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And I hope to be able to see you guys at some film festivals. Your last film, The Mages, I saw at Horror Hound. So who knows? Maybe in the near future, maybe the Reclaimers may show up at Horror Hound. Who knows?
Yep, we're just hitting the festival circuit, so we're trying to submit to anything and everything. So hopefully our world premiere will be this Saturday at Telluride Horror Show, and then we are going to Los Angeles for Screamfest, and then we'll be at FilmQuest later on in the month, or I guess like the first weekend of November, and then it just kind of keeps going from there. So,
all right, and like I said, thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, man.